I am here reporting from the other side of 45. The other side of 45, which I turned 45 in December. And I'm blessed. I'm lucky. I'm happy to be alive. Everybody does not make it. I feel that I'm still an attractive, viable woman. I feel successful in business and settled in my family life. Finally. I finally feel settled in my spirit, in my family life. But for a very long time, I was happy with just being a single woman, able to do whatever I wanted to do. Could wake up in the one day, drive to Atlanta, drive to New York, get on a plane, hop to Brazil. No issues, no second thoughts. You want to eat something or just starve all day and drink smoothies for a week. No second thoughts about that. I had a great time doing that. But I'm going to tell you something. When you hit about 38, things start to shift a bit in life. 35, yeah, you feel more grown, but you still feel different than you do once you start rounding that corner over to 40. It's a different world, baby. And no doubt it's a positive turn, but I can tell you that looking back, the things that we're being told about women being over 40 and happy, childless, and single are lies, y'all. That shit is not fucking all the way transparent. It's very opaque, the things that we're hearing about women being happy. There's a very common article, a very common so-called happiness expert, economist author that says women are happier without children or a spouse. Okay, behavioral scientist Paul Dolan says traditional markers of success no longer apply. This has been going for about 6 years. As you can see, this article is more than 6 years old. We've got a picture of Lena Dunham in a scene from the show Girls, which she wrote, which I'm going to get into her too, because you can look at her life and see how it's going and how she looks happy like a big toddler. But is she though? Like, does she look happy? Does she look well? Or does she just look rich? Because a lot of you who don't have a lot of money or don't have any money confuse being rich with being happy, because you see rich and you feel like you would be, that's all you need. That's the missing piece, baby. Ooh, let me tell you, it ain't. Anyway, so we're going to go into this because the reason why I'm talking about this today is because I am coming from full auntie big sister mode. You don't have to take my point of view as fact, but listen, when you listen to other people talk about, their choices in their lives, make sure that you really dig into your heart and ask yourself what you want. I love Exotical's United's channel, and she had a video come out today about being childless, stay child free. Listen, that's her choice. But I didn't watch the video because, I felt like I might be triggered, and that did trigger me to come and tell my story about the dark night of the soul, about turning a corner in life where you feel life passing you by and you don't really have a purpose or direction. The only thing you have is the potential to make money and more money, the potential to find love and create a lineage, um, and maybe stories of how what your efforts in the past and how they didn't work. So that's what I had, me personally. And I did a lot of work to just discover how to date properly and what to look for in the right type of person. Um, that, you know, really now I want to make it easier for my daughter and the people who are in my family, um, to understand so that they don't have to struggle the way I did. as far as understanding how to date and how to get to the results for that piece of one's life faster. And that's what I'm here to do on this channel. Some people want to be child free, but I'm going to tell you one thing: family makes life worthwhile. It is the foundation for societies, communities, and nations. And women play a huge role in that. And there's something great about being exalted as a mother and as a wife and as a person in the community that people admire. And I have never given birth, but I am taking on the stepmother role in my marriage to my, I guess technically she is my stepdaughter, but I feel for her a very strong love. And she may never feel it for me. And I don't expect that. But being involved in her life has really enriched mine in so many ways. And of course, there's a period of adjustment when you start taking on responsibility as someone's parent, co-parent, step parent. It can be uncomfortable, just like with anything, like like maybe taking in a dog that you have to wake up and pee every night for. You what what is it? What is the fascination and the difference? There's a lot of difference. Um, I never did give birth, and that has been a choice of mine that I can't say that I have regrets because I could still potentially give birth. I mean, I'm old as hell, but hey, you never know. These pipes might just clink together one day and just decide to work again. I don't know because, but I'm not going to shun that potential. And I'm definitely not like, it doesn't happen. I will not care because I do feel like there is a piece of my life that I have had an opportunity to experience and that I have been impactful in the life of someone else to build this world into a better place and to influence it in my own little way. The easiest route to doing that for some people will be motherhood. And for me, it has been, being a stepmom and also, having this channel, even though if two people listen, I don't care. The work that I do, that's helpful, but nothing, even being a stepmom, it overshadows the work that I'm doing. I promise you. It just does. Being a stepmom overshadows it so much more. I got the window open, y'all. You may hear dogs barking in my neighborhood. Um, so I encourage everyone to just think for themselves and really listen to your heart. I always wanted to have children, but I never wanted to do it as a single mother because I did witness my mom struggle. And I also never wanted to do it in a situation where I had to work. I always wanted to be a stay at home mom. And the route that I went to go about that was dumb because I felt like it would be easier for me to just make enough money so that no matter what, I could afford to stay home no matter what my husband did. So that meant that I was going to delay um, having a family until I felt like I could afford to do it on my own, which that mentality of doing it on your own is something that comes from being raised by a woman who was on her own. But it doesn't have to be like that. Like in a healthy family, which y'all, most people's families, when they are together, most of the time they are healthy. Yes, you hear about instances which are less common where there is a lot of dysfunction, tremendous breakdowns. When you are being supported, it looks so different than it does when a person is not. And I've been in a family where a woman was not supported. And then here in turn, I turn around and I am the supported, well-watered woman, um, whose husband loves his child and, will do anything to help support me to make her life comfortable and delicious and fun. Um, okay, so back to just the experience with the dark night of the soul. Like, and the messages that women are getting about, oh, women are happier without children. Yeah, okay, I can tell you that I was happy until I said, like I said, I hit about 38. Then I had to start looking around like, I've got to clean this up or else, I've got a small window of time to potentially have my own children. So I started to what I considered to be dating more seriously, which was still the wrong way to go about it. And I did have some great dates and all that. Now I got engaged even to somebody else. Ended up ending that relationship, having a miscarriage, being an older, geriatric pregnancy. And just really being hopeful for the future and having it kind of disintegrate because of my own choices, really. And me being able to look back. But at around 38, there was a moment where I felt like I might as well just delete myself because I am not giving anything to anyone of value other than my career expertise. And who cares about that, really? Once they get what they need from you, as far as what you provide in a find, as a career expertise expert or whatever, you're out of sight, out of mind. You know, you turn around at 38 and one day you look down at your phone and you start to see like jowls. And it's like, okay, what? Okay. You start to notice differences in energy levels. It's different. And you can start to wonder what your purpose is. You can start to wonder that with children too, but a lot of times it doesn't happen that way. And I'm going to get into the evidence of what I'm really talking about. A lot of times the natural cycles of life make sense. They do. And we have been ignoring them for the greater part of 70 years. And because, since America has experienced the Industrial Revolution, like we have turned this place from a place where there was no air conditioning into a paradise. And so life has become so, 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 so easy that other problems have cropped up that have never been seen before in history, ever, in recorded history. So we're at a different place. So let's get into the message that women are happier without children or a spouse. Happiness expert Paul Dolan says this. And we may have suspected it already, but now the science backs it up. Unmarried and childless women are the happiest group in the population, and they're more likely to live longer than their married and child-rearing peers, according to a leading expert in happiness. Okay. Who is this leading expert in happiness, Paul Dolan? Who is he? Who is this guy? Paul Dolan, a professor of behavioral science in the Department of Psychology and Behavioral Science. Personal life. Oh, no family. Personal life, no family. Hobbies, bodybuilding. By the looks of things, he likes dick just as much as you do, sis. At least he likes his more than anything in his life. So how is he telling us that women are happier? Why where's he getting his information from? He gave this speech at the Hay Festival. What is the Hay Festival? I don't know. I didn't look into that. Hay Festival, it looks like a place where people come together to share ideas. Anyway, he gave this speech about how women with some good longitudinal data following the same people over time says, listen, if you're a man, you should probably get married. If you're a woman, don't bother. Why is he saying this? Um, it cites evidence. He's saying this because he's gotten his evidence from the American Time Use Survey. He got his information from a survey compiled by the US Bureau of Labor Statistics called the American Time Use Survey. This man got his information about why men benefit more from marriage from a survey that shows how Americans spend their time. This article says that this survey compared levels of pleasure and misery in unmarried, married, divorced, separated, and widowed individuals. They say that this survey compares level of pleasure and misery in unmarried, married, divorced, separated, and widowed individuals. This is a lie, an outright lie, because this survey is widely accessible. The American Time Use Survey. It shows how Americans use their time, and it breaks them down on demographics. There's nothing in here that you can, if you search this publication, there's nothing in it, in these tables. Let's look. Time spent. There's nothing. If you want to search the American time use table, you go here. Search for pleasure. The word is not in there. No results. No results. If you search for misery, I didn't search this, so maybe there are results for this. No results. You know why? Because these tables are not that. They are not measuring misery. They're showing the time spent, average hours per day, doing certain activities. Okay. And you can look deeper into this. This is food prep, household management. He is making his assumption based on what he believes is pleasurable and what he believes would make a person miserable. This gay man here is assessing what he believes makes women more miserable versus what makes them feel pleasure. Do you want to take his word for it? Or do you want the veil to be lifted from your eyes? Because the lie that women are happier as single women traveling the world, eating fruit and croissants, are happier than women who are at home taking their kids to dance class, that's a stupid ass lie. It's just dumb. It's not true. You know what? There was a point where I was on a girls' trip in, a tropical location with about 15 beautiful girls. We're all just, having a blast. And I felt myself have an out of body experience looking down on this group of Black women who have traveled abroad with one another, all over the age of 35, single, twerking on the beach, taking pictures. Everybody, except for maybe 2 or 3 people, is at least 20 pounds overweight, and that was including me. We're all single, ringless. No, some have children, most of us didn't. Just trying to drum up some good energy and feel the spirit and get distracted from life by the liquor, by the sand, by the sun. I felt so separate from everyone just looking down. It felt like a hood rat mess. Us at this resort. Um, I was sitting there just watching them really kind of twerking. Someone had even brought their own JBL speaker and was playing trap music over the resort music. Everybody looking at us had a slight sense of disgust on their faces. Not only because this group of women represented social decline in like 10 different ways. Yeah, educated, um, money, yes, money. Um, but there's just like a pack of raving banshees doing with no real purpose, you know. All these people just on this resort with their spouse, looking at us, a pack of black women for the most part, um, acting like they're on spring break. And every one of them is over 35, every bit of 36, 37, 38, 42. Some of that was in there. It gets to be depressing after a certain point. Like, women are not all that happy being single and without families, okay? So, listen, I'm going to read a letter from this lady on Reddit who says that she spent most of her prime young adult years prioritizing her career and staying too long in an unhealthy relationship. She's finally having to accept that she missed the boat. She says, I was holding on to hope that I might still have time to start a family, but gave up after spending my 40th birthday alone just as the pandemic lockdown began. Yeah, let me tell you how I spent my 40th birthday. I had a beautiful birthday. I invited my three closest friends, which was a sad state of affairs because these ended up being my closest friends. These people who I would consider more like frenemies. These are my closest friends I invited to dinner for my 40th birthday. I told them all to wear red. This was at a very nice steakhouse, one of the best in the city. I invited them to join me for a dinner that I was paying for a party for myself that I was throwing. One of them said that she almost didn't even wear red. These are my closest friends. So, we go to dinner and, I'm like, order whatever you want. And they do. We make a spectacle because we all look so good that people from other tables are coming to our table to see why we're all wearing red. What are we doing? They're buying us drinks. They're sending us drinks and just, it was a great night. Um, I would have foot the bill for that entire dinner. And my friends, they spent almost $1,000. There were just four of us. We spent almost $1,000 on dinner. Luckily, a kind person came through and paid the bill for me because it was my birthday after all. So luckily someone came, paid the bill. And then we all took pictures and had a good time and then we all went home. My 40th birthday after that fabulous dinner, you know, I went home and spent the night in a bed with myself. And the quietness is just was so loud, like because you want to wake up the next day and really have some meaning. And I can relate to kind of just spending my birthday, even though I was surrounded by people, feeling alone. Okay, anyway, I'm going to continue reading her letter. She says this. As I moved across different states and employers after graduate school, I saw my number of close friends getting smaller. Now, all my local friends and colleagues are married with children, and I feel like I've been forgotten. New York Times had an interesting article last month about the vexing problem of the medium friend. That really hit home because right now I feel like that's all I have. Yeah, I went over to look at that article, The Vexing Problem of the Medium Friend. And that's all I had. At the dinner with me for my 40th birthday, I had medium friends. because these bitches, they kind of like me, but they really didn't have nothing else to do, but they kind of wanted to come and celebrate me. But then also, I'm sure that if they had a date, they probably would have gone on that instead. It just seems like people think that their friend groups are going to turn into the Golden Girls. Listen, the Golden Girls is a TV show. Like, you're not going to very likely move into the sunset with a group of women that's going to stick together that strongly um in old age. It just isn't realistic. So anyway, I'm going to continue reading. It's been over a month since anyone has contacted me about getting together to do anything. She says that it has been over a month since anyone has contacted her about getting together to do anything. This is titled Midlife Depression of Childless Single Women Friends Have Moved On. This is in a Reddit group for women over 40. She says it's been over a month since anyone has contacted me about getting together to do anything, and the depression feels so overwhelming right now. This summer, I'm also teaching remotely, and I have very few reasons to even leave the house. I have very few reasons to leave the house, few reasons to social climb, few reasons to break out of your routine, a lot of reasons to get stuck in a rut. I'm going to continue. She says, so it has felt almost worse than 2020 because I can't use lockdown as a justification for my isolation. And the consolation that most others are going through similar struggles is no longer there. It's not, everyone's not locked up. Everyone's not distracted by COVID and can't leave the house. That's not an excuse. So, she said, comments made recently in US politics certainly haven't helped, though at least I own a dog and not a cat. She's talking about JD Vance. JD Vance talking about childless cat ladies. Listen, I was almost a childless cat lady too. And I may have been happy with being a childless cat lady, but I knew that I would need more. I knew that I needed more than that. I may have been able to create a life with me and my cat, even though, I'm allergic to cats severely. I wanted a cat very much, still do. Um, the dander, the pee, the saliva is the problem, not the fur. Um, so yeah, I understand. Being having a dog, childless dog lady. That the rise of that is real. She says, I'm afraid to share my feelings of abandonment with my friends because I'm sure it will sound like criticism, saying, hey, you guys don't come around as much as you used to. I need you. And perhaps that I'm unsympathetic to their busy schedules. She doesn't want to sound like she doesn't understand that they're busy because, yeah, they have a full fucking life. They have reasons to go outside, motivations to social climb. Baby, I tell you, going outside gives you reasons to look your best, feel your best, you know? And look your best, you feel your best. Shine in and outside your house, you know? So anyway, I don't want people hanging out with me just out of pity, of course. And me as a Black woman, I've been able to survive longer as a single woman with friends because so many Black women are childless and educated. So many highly educated Black women are childless. So it's easier to find that safe haven and network of so called friends, medium friends. It's easier to find that network of medium friends until after about 40, when you really just don't have the capacity to hang out with people who are insufferable or to waste money on things because you realize you need to be saving for a retirement that you're going to have to fund completely on your own. It just, things change up. and you don't want to hang out with the same people. You might move. It's harder to make friends after a certain point. College friends just aren't the same. She says like this: these last few years have felt like a time of reckoning, an internal struggle to curb my expectations and simply accept that we don't always get what we want in life. Professionally, it's hard to maintain a positive attitude and enthusiastic support while teaching college students at a time like this. And I'm worried it's going to start affecting my job performance. It's exhausting constantly being an actor when I'm at work. Society has become justifiably more concerned about students' mental health, but there's been, in my opinion, little recognition that faculty often have similar struggles. I always seem the same advice online: go out and make new friends. But that seems so difficult because I have no physical or mental energy, and I know I won't come across as a person who other people would enjoy being around. I also feel like my social anxiety has gotten worse the older I get, which doesn't help. Yes, my primary physician did recommend therapy, but I gave up the search after struggling to find someone who was older than me and might be more empathetic to what I'm going through at this stage in my life. And I just don't see how talking about your problems changes things. Yeah, it's just there's never been a time in history when so many middle-aged women are childless. Never. She said, I'm not exactly sure now why I wrote this, and I know just echoing the concerns of millions of others online. And I'm sincerely sorry if any of this sounds like I lack sympathy for the daunting challenges that parents have. I understand if parents would tell me to suck it up and stop complaining because my issues will never come close to the daily challenges that they have to deal with. She's talking about life as a single woman with no kids, not really having any purpose. And I'm telling you, she is not feeling alone. She's not alone. Women, listen, this study says, wait, approximately 24% of women in the US currently live with depression. This is this is something that, you know, is cited in lots of places. This is from Mental Health America. Their website just kind of giving overviews from studies. 24% of women in the US currently live with a depression. One third of women report having been diagnosed with depression. Black, Hispanic, and Asian American women experience more depressive symptoms on average than any other population subgroup. Okay, so women of color experience it more. There are lots of reasons, you know, perimenopausal, like women getting older and feeling in midlife that they're depressed is a common thing. You know, this American Time Youth Survey is interesting. This guy, Paul Dolan, saying that women who are over 40 are more happy. There's other studies about how liberal women are the most unhappy. I could see that too because they are less focused on family. Family is fulfilling. There's lots of studies on this. Science Direct, the politics of depression, diverging trends in internalizing symptoms among US adolescents by political beliefs. Basically, more conservative teens are happier than teens that are in liberal families, especially poor liberal families. Families that have no structure for dating and sexuality, you know, they don't have an idea about self determination because they most commonly believe that the government is a source for handouts and should be supplying them with a better way of life rather than feeling like, hey, I've got to get this on my own. I determine my outcome for myself, and I control my outcomes based on what I do. That is having an internal locus of control rather than having the external locus of control where people feel like the government is job is to make your life better. um it's what we preach in on our exotical channels, and I will say that on the other side of 45, I am coming from the battlefield of the sexual revolution and all of the changes that have been happening since the 50s and 60s and saying, listen, this shit did not work. You see the women born in the 50s and 60s and 70s, a lot of them, the depression is rising. And the fact is that women are more susceptible to divorce, not divorce. Women are more susceptible for developing anxiety disorders and also committing this, offing themselves, deleting themselves. Women report attempting suicide more than men. That was a terrible way to mask the word. I should have just went ahead and said it. Suicide? Really? Okay. Anyway, the rates of deletion for women in the US is highest for women between the ages of 45 and 64. Y'all, I can promise you that has crossed my mind before. And I don't feel like I'm a person that's ever been depressed. I'm way more pragmatic. It crossed my mind because I'm more of like a realist. Like, hey, okay, I don't have any kids. Why do I want to keep doing this? Like, what's in it for me? Why am I going to prolong this? If I don't really have a purpose, I'm just going to keep working to work. Okay, what is the purpose of that? Social climbing to where? To do what? To have more money for what? There's a point where it's like, how much more do I need to make a big change in my life? Like, you know, it just, there's a point where you might feel like it's just cheaper and cleaner for everyone if I let all this go and maybe let other people have a chance with the life insurance that now I'm grandfathered into. They can't not give it to the people. So it's just, yeah, of course, money is a big factor. Women who have been incarcerated are at a higher risk for, deletion, which is definitely women of color in the Black community for sure. But there's a reason why the suicide rate is highest for women between these ages, because women are vulnerable to the changes of life. And baby, life changes as you get older. Social climbing has to have a point. And, if you continue with the cycles of life into family and motherhood, even indirectly, you don't even have to be a mother, but you can still create some kind of family network. If you decide you never want to be married, start thinking about what life is going to be like for you at around 45 through 64. And I did think that. I felt like if I never did get married, after that, I had that moment, the dark night of the soul moment, where I felt supremely depressed and like, why am I doing this? What am I doing here? I felt like I have to come up with a solution. I may never find Mr. Right. I may never get married. I did, which the tables turned, but I thought to myself, you know what? Well, there's plenty of kids out here who need someone to love, and I can give them all the love that's bottled up in me and making me crazy. I can adopt, I can foster, I can create a home life in a loving world for other people. Women need to influence the world in some way, or else they will feel in some way unfulfilled, stagnant, stiff. Like your energy needs to be flowing, just like money. That's how give and get money. It's the same with all energy. The more you give, the more you get. And so, in order to combat self deletion, you have to come up with a strategy for what it is you're going to be, how you're going to circulate your energy. I'm telling you that travel, fine dining, um, that's not going to be enough. You're going to have to mix in some philanthropy, some kind of self sacrifice that transforms you and transcends you, which we're going to talk more about transcendence and like self actualization and Maslow's hierarchy of needs as time goes on. But if we start talking about it now, for those of you who know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you'll know what it is, like, you'll know that your social needs are important. Social needs, love and belonging, friendship, family, intimacy, love and belonging. This is important. His this it's He doesn't actually make it a hierarchy, so it's not like you have to have loving belonging to have self-esteem. You can have self-esteem and also self-actual actualize without having the family and the love and belonging. But it's an important piece to a circle of life. Safety and security, physiological needs, those are very important to have in life. And loving belonging is a big chunk here, where friendship, family, intimacy, sense of connection are important. And I don't know why people put friendship before family. That's dumb, y'all. I promise you. Nothing ties friends together. You know how quick we dismiss people from our lives? As a woman, I know us. Like, women, women friends, you know how quick women will kick another bitch to the curb, especially in your 30s and 40s. You might put up with some BS in your 20s with friends, but you turn that corner to 40, and ma'am, if you say one thing about one thing, I'm about to block you. Like, just if you're not encouraging me in the most highest ways, and if you give me criticism, it better be out of love. Like, it better be, with I have a solution at the end, something, because it's going to be easy to kick a friend to the curb. Friendship is not before family. This is where liberalism and the society in America is getting things wrong. Friends can be organized around a couple of things. And I can tell you that once those motivations, like you once worked together, or you have something in common, or you used to go to school together, once those things kind of fall off center, your friendship can falter and will. You know, yes, some people are able. I have friends that I've had for over 30 years. So going to school with somebody, yeah, that has bound me to some people, yes. But my friendship is not as vast as it once. My friendship circle is not as vast as it once was, and I would implore you to understand that as you get older in age here in the dollhouse, realistically, your friends' lives will start to center around other things like their family. And if they're lucky, and um yeah, you'll have to center yours around something other than leveling up, because baby, you will hit a plateau. Like, that's just it. The plateau where you feel like you've leveled up as high as you can go, you've got everything. Now what? Okay, you're walking around leveled up, doing what? Like, what are you giving? You're just going home and looking cute alone? That's dumb. Y'all, let's think about this. Like, I love you. And use your youth and beauty while it is its most potent, to create the magic in your life that you want to create the reality in your life that you want to create. So I'm going to leave you with that, dolls. I've talked for long enough, but we'll be talking more.